Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Teachable Moment with Dr. Mekia Troy on the Educational Lady podcast. We'll be right back with Dr. Troy's Teachable Moment, number 19. But first, let's hear from our podcast sponsors. You've heard me say just about every single episode, these are companies that I used as an athletic director. I have no problem recommending them to you. So spend the next 3 minutes. Don't hit that fast forward button as we give our sponsors their shout out. We want to say thanks to our friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. You can go to their website, sidelineinteractive.com, schedule a live web demo, and see their products in action. You won't be disappointed. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Make sure you check them out today. We also want to say thank you to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and ended up with zero, if any, return on your investment? Stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school. Tremendous success, and you're going to love it too. You all can also check out their other platforms like Snap Sponsor, FanX, and others. You'll find it all at snapraise.com. That's snapraise.com. We want to say thanks to Home Campus, the official high school and state association management platform for us. It's also your one-stop platform for scheduling everything that goes into athletic eligibility and clearance, online digital forms, signatures, working with parents. You can use it with coaches, games, you name it. Home Campus does it. Go to homecampus.com to get started. That's homecampus.com. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Gipper's the official social media graphics solution for the podcast. And if you go to Gipper.com, their team is going to show you how to create world-class content for your school's social media channel. It's going to help you celebrate your teams and promote your athletes. Gipper's used and trusted by over 3,000 athletic departments across the country. It's professional graphic design made simple. That's Gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to their website and check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to showcase your school record board for all the teams, for all the sports, or your school's Hall of Fame, or simply share your school's most compelling stories and your proudest moments. Their website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We'd also like to say thanks to Athletic Surveys. They sponsor the AD Toolbox segment on our regular podcast. Athletic Surveys is a quick, easy, and it's an affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data by doing a survey of your student athletes, your parents, or your coaches. You already hear back from the complainers. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your parents that support your program. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with your principal, a frustrated parent, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com to get started. That's athleticsurveys.com. And we want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. But when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided that let them coach our kids up to their highest level. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to thank our good friends at Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. Their team is going to show you how to set up and start selling tickets online for all of your events. It's digital ticketing that offers more support, more security, and more customization. That's hometownticketing.com. Welcome back, everyone, and Happy New Year from Teachable Moments on the Educational AD podcast. If you're new to this series, this is our weekly series where Dr. Mekia Troy, she's a certified master athletic administrator. She's the athletic director at Creekside High School in Georgia. She shares her take on topics that all athletic directors and leaders get to play with. So, Dr. Troy, like I said, Happy New Year. And what do you have for our listeners this week on Teachable Moment?
Thank you. Happy New Year. And just in time, we'll take a look at something to start our new year off just right. There are so many resources now, more than I believe were out when I began this journey as an athletic administrator, but so many resources to help make our jobs a bit more manageable. And especially coming off a great national conference in December, there are so many workshops and classes, vendors and ideas, just great things to get us all excited and motivated about getting back to work for this next semester after that nice winter break. We get a chance to, reset, recharge, and be ready to go to close out our school years. So many fantastic books and podcasts and things that are right here at our fingertips. But I think that sometimes we started adding all types of things to our AD's toolbox, as you call it, in your books. And yet sometimes we don't really use them. So I'm not big on resolutions and things like that, but I will challenge our ADs out there that may be listening to, hey, look back at your toolbox and see what you got. And let's try to use them in this new year. There's so many things that you might have added from the national conference or from conversations with other ADs from throughout the country. Great stuff, but we don't want it to be great stuff that just sits there and we lose steam once we get back into just the daily routine of what it is that we do on our campuses and not get a chance to use all the great ideas that we were just exposed to. So remember those hopeful ideas, all those innovative strategies, and let's challenge ourselves to actually put them to use now that we're back on our campuses. The as I mentioned, the Educational AD podcast, great resource for athletic directors, and so are the books. So many episodes and the books as a resource to be able to use to show us great ideas that people are using on a regular basis, that now we have the opportunity to do the same thing on our own campuses. I was last year, well, in our school district, we have to do we have to set SMART goals for our year, for our annual performance evaluations. And I decided, and SMART goals, in case you're not familiar, SMART, the acronym being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. I took some time in my SMART goal development last school year and decided to just, hey, go through the AD's toolbox, the books, and pull out 3 tools that I could apply within that school year and really show evidence for it. But by putting it into my SMART goals for my evaluation, I was able to actually use them, show evidence for them, and have someone holding me accountable for actually doing that. So I wasn't just grabbing things and adding them to the toolbox and we see them and we like it and then we get back to work and we never try it. We don't want that to be the case. There's so many things that we can use now and improve upon if we're willing to, take a chance and put some of these things to work. But in even attempting to try to use 3, I learned so much more. I was able to use so many other things. So I really appreciated taking that time, and it helped that I had, my direct supervisor to hold me accountable because it was a part of my actual performance evaluation. So as this new year is beginning for us all, I just want to challenge athletic directors out there to go back to your toolbox, review it a little bit. Is there something that's way in the back you forgot about, maybe you've overlooked in time? Or is there something like an old screwdriver that could get an upgrade to a power tool and, try to use something a little more effective for what you're doing right now? I just want to challenge other athletic administrators to take a look at those resources and the things you've gathered and received from so many others, those ideas and strategies, and actually use them. Don't just hoard them and fill up your toolbox just to sit there and say that, oh yeah, I remember that, or yeah, I read that, I heard that before. But let's actually put it to use so we can show the value of these resources that we have and then pass that information along to other ADs as well. So yeah, there's my challenge for the year, to just get into your toolbox and put it to use.
Wow. Certainly, I want to thank you for that, little bit of promotion, about the books. Um, for someone who might be new to the podcast, again, we started this podcast 3.5 some years ago, where we just interviewed athletic directors, ask them to share their story, maybe brag a little on their school, and then offer some tips to other ADs. We had an athletic director here in Florida who almost every year did a workshop called the AD Toolbox, and I just thought that was a really cool title. So I, like any good AD, I stole it. And
Right.
as we did the podcast and the tools started to build up, the great Mike Elson out of Tennessee, who was on the podcast. Dr. Troy, you were on the podcast that very first year too. Mike said, Jake, these tools, they make a great book. And I go, you really think so? And that's how the first AD Toolbox book came about. And it was just so enjoyable for me as an athletic director. I hadn't yet retired, to hear the stories, to hear the tools. And many of them were the same or similar tools, but oftentimes applied in a different way or a different setting. And I think that's where readers of the book, and again, Mekia, thanks so much for that shout out. I think that's where athletic directors have found it valuable that there's 20 main categories, but within each category, there's a lot of different applications of a tool. So it's been fun for me, and we're continuing to add to it, as you mentioned, with a second edition, and then our third edition just came out. So for you listeners, if you would like to get a copy of the toolbox, and if you're a brand new athletic director this year, shoot me a message. I'll send you a copy for free. We want to get the books in your hand. And Dr. Troy, we don't want to forget about you. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out and connect with you, and listeners, if you're new to this podcast, you've got a tremendous resource right here with Dr. Troy. Mekia, how can they get a hold of you?
Yep, you can reach out on social media. That's at Dr. Troy Me, DrTroyme, or send me an email, drtroyme@gmail. Be happy to be a resource and, trade ideas.
And if you would like to be on the podcast on our regular interviews, message me at jakestouchdown@gmail.com. We'll get you on the podcast. And who knows, maybe down the road, we're going to be recording your special segment that will turn into its own book. So, Dr. Troy, thanks again for coming. I hope 2024 continues to be a great year. We're only a couple days into it. All the best with your spring sports and the continuing seasons.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hey, for listeners, we do this every single week, and we upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Of course, we appreciate you listening. Come back next week for another teachable moment, just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Before we go, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. As always, these are companies that I used as an athletic director, and you should be using them too. Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to find out more. We want to thank Snap Raise. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. Encourage you to go to Gipper.com. Gipper's the official social media graphics solution for us. Go to Gipper.com. Start creating world-class content. We'd like to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is the official and the exclusive high school and state association management platform for us, something that I used every single day as an athletic director. Go to homecampus.com to get signed up. We'd like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Mention the podcast. You'll get a nice discount. We'd also like to say thank you to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. That's hometownticketing.com. We'd like to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. Now, if you've never used a survey, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. And lastly, we'd like to thank Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle. As an athletic director, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com to get started. One more time, thanks for listening to this segment of Teachable Moment. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.